Okay, feels like I haven't been here in a week, but it's only been a couple days. Um, so we are, by my calculations, in chapter 8 of 2nd Kings. I think we're about to get into Jehu. He's pretty, I like to refer to him as the 24 type character. If you're a fan of 24, I like to refer to him as Jehu Bauer. You know, Jack Bauer, the Bauer in, what is that, Euchre. Jehu fixes a lot of problems, but he's also pretty scary and ruthless. Okay, right now though, we're in chapter 8. We're still talking about Elisha, what he was doing, his ministry. A lot of great things he did in the previous chapters. That's what we've been discussing last time. So that's pretty much where we're at. We'll begin in prayer from Matthew chapter 6, verse 9. After this manner therefore pray ye, Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen. Amen. Chapter 8. Elisha predicts the 7 years famine. Verse 1. Then spake Elisha unto the woman whose son he had restored to life, saying, Arise, and go thou and thine household, and sojourn wheresoever thou canst sojourn. For the Lord hath called for a famine, and it shall also come upon the land 7 years. So here we have again a 7 years famine. You see this multiple times throughout the Bible. I think you see that in Daniel, right? How that's predicted, and that's how it comes to pass. Probably a couple other places too. He says, get out of here. Get ready. It makes me wonder about right now, whether I should be getting ready, or can we get ready? Is it an inevitability what approaches? See a lot of warning signs coming. I feel like I've done nothing to prepare. I prepared myself spiritually and mentally for what's coming, But as far as all the people around me, how they're going to treat me, how they're going to interact with each other. Being in a city, it's probably pretty dangerous. I think Elisha is saying, get out of the city. Maybe that's what I should do. 2. And the woman arose and did after the sayings of the man of God, and she went with her household and sojourned in the land of the Philistines 7 years. Jehoram restores the Shunammite's land, verse 3. And it came to pass at the 7 years' end that the woman returned out of the land of the Philistines, and she went forth to cry unto the king for her house and for her land. And the king talked with Gehazi, the servant of the man of God, saying, Tell me, I pray thee, all the great things that Elisha hath done. And it came to pass, as he was telling the king how he had restored a dead body to life, that behold, the woman whose son he had restored to life cried to the king for her house and for her land. And Gehazi said, My lord, O king, this is the woman, and this is her son, whom Elisha restored to life. Can't be a coincidence. Just happened to be there, Oh yeah, it's coincidental. No, I don't think so. 6. And when the king asked the woman, she told him. So the king appointed unto her a certain officer, saying, Restore all that was hers, and all the fruits of the field, since the day that she left the land, even until now. Wonder how many families that left during the famine, come back and they don't have any ID, they don't have any proof of ownership. They're just like, get out of here. I don't. How many people are scamming to get land, Thankfully, she's probably got the paperwork, and no problem. Here's your land back. Elisha predicts Hazael's reign over Syria, verse 7. And Elisha came to Damascus, and Ben-Hadad, the king of Syria, was sick. And it was told him, saying, The man of God is come hither. And the king said unto Hazael, Take a present in thine hand, and go meet the man of God, and inquire of the Lord by him, saying, Shall I recover of this disease? This is a very sad story. 9. So Hazael went to meet him, and took a present with him, even of every good thing of Damascus, 40 camels' burden, and came and stood before him, and said, Thy son Ben-Hadad, king of Syria, hath sent me to thee, saying, Shall I recover of this disease? Thy son. Okay. 10. It's kind of kissing butt there, as they would say. Sucking up. Thy son. 10. And Elisha said unto him, Go say unto him, Thou mayest certainly recover. Howbeit the Lord hath showed me that he shall surely die. And he settled his countenance steadfastly until he was ashamed, and the man of God wept. Just imagine if you know what's going to happen, You can read this guy, and God has already told you what's going to happen. And this guy is a complete monster, or he becomes a monster, a greedy, power-hungry psychopath, serial killer. How would you keep your face, knowing that this is part of God's judgment? This guy here is part of God's judgment approaching. He's going to hurt a lot of people. He's just a mouthpiece, though, So he can barely contain himself because he knows how evil this guy is. 12. And Hazael said, Why weepeth my lord? And he answered, Because I know the evil that thou wilt do unto the children of Israel. Their strongholds wilt thou set on fire, and their young men wilt thou slay with the sword, and wilt dash their children, and rip up their women with child. And Hazael said, But what? Is thy servant a dog, that he should do this great thing? And Elisha answered, The Lord hath showed me that thou shalt be king over Syria. So he departed from Elisha, and came to his master, who said to him, What said Elisha to thee? And he answered, He told me that thou shouldest surely recover. And it came to pass on the morrow that he took a thick cloth, and dipped it in water, and spread it on his face, so that he died, and Hazael reigned in his stead. So suffocated him. I don't know. Pretty rotten, though. He gets the, I'm going to recover from this. Yay! And then this guy just comes along and suffocates him. Jehoram co-king with his father Jehoshaphat over Judah. 16. And in the 5th year of Joram, the son of Ahab, king of Israel, Jehoshaphat being then king of Judah, Jehoram, the son of Jehoshaphat, king of Judah, began to reign. Now I know Jehoshaphat was a good king, and I think his son, as long as his father's around, is okay. But I think once his father's gone, he turns evil. 17. 32 years old was he when he began to reign, and he reigned 8 years in Jerusalem, and he walked in the way of the kings of Israel, as did the house of Ahab, for the daughter of Ahab was his wife, and he did evil in the sight of the Lord. Yet the Lord would not destroy Judah for David his servant's sake, as he promised him, to give him alway a light, and to his children. Isn't that sickening? So Ahab's gone. Oh, for the daughter of Ahab was his wife. There you go. Ahab's wife was Jezebel. And Ahab and Jezebel's daughter is this guy's wife. Why would you marry this woman, you know? Probably because she was pretty attractive. See, you don't just look at that. You have to actually see what she's saying. What evil is spewing out of her mouth? Maybe I shouldn't get involved with this woman, you know? But see, I can shake my head at him and say, why did you do that? But then say the same thing happens to me. She's so beautiful, you know. You just, yeah. I can shake my head, but I'm probably just as bad. Attractive woman comes in. Oh, I don't care. She's attractive. I think you have to look past that. The revolt of Edom, 20. In his days Edom revolted from under the hand of Judah, and made a king over themselves. So all this time, Edom, that's the descendants of Esau, they've been serving the younger. They've been vassals to Israel, but now they're rebelling. So now, that's probably one of their only sources of income, is tribute from their vassals, and these aren't good signs, you know. This is the signs of the end of the kingdom, basically. We're approaching it. It just keeps going down, 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 down. 21. So Joram went over to Zaire, and all the chariots with him, and he rose by night, and smote the Edomites which compassed him about, and the captains of the chariots, and the people fled into their tents. The revolt of Libnah. Yet Edom revolted from under the hand of Judah unto this day. Then Libnah revolted at the same time. And the rest of the acts of Joram, and all that he did, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the kings of Judah? Death of Jehoram, verse 24. And Joram slept with his fathers, and was buried with his fathers in the city of David. And Ahaziah his son reigned in his stead. Accession of Ahaziah over Judah, verse 25. In the 12th year of Joram, the son of Ahab, king of Israel, did Ahaziah, the son of Jehoram, king of Judah, begin to reign. 22 years old was Ahaziah when he began to reign, and he reigned 1 year in Jerusalem. And his mother's name was Athaliah, the daughter of Omri, king of Israel. And he walked in the way of the house of Ahab, and did evil in the sight of the Lord, as did the house of Ahab, for he was the son-in-law of the house of Ahab. Ahaziah joins Jehoram in defense of Ramoth-Gilead. And he went with Joram, the son of Ahab, to the war against Hazael, king of Syria, in Ramoth-Gilead, and the Syrians wounded Joram. Ahaziah visits Jehoram at Jezreel, 29. And King Joram went back to be healed in Jezreel of the wounds which the Syrians had given him at Ramah, when he fought against Hazael, king of Syria. And Ahaziah, the son of Jehoram, king of Judah, went down to see Joram, the son of Ahab, in Jezreel, because he was sick. So you got a lot of evil kings running about right now, right? It seems like you've got the sons of Ahab, the descendants of Ahab, and Jezebel. It seems like they've got control of both Israel and Judah. And so now God's just like, I've had enough of this. I've had enough of these psychos. I'm going to appoint somebody to fix some of these problems here. And that's what the next chapter is about. Chapter 9. Jehu, anointed king over Israel at Ramoth Gilead. Verse 1. And Elisha the prophet called one of the children of the prophets, and said unto him, Gird up thy loins, and take this box of oil in thine hand, and go to Ramoth Gilead. And when thou comest thither, look out there Jehu the son of Jehoshaphat, the son of Nimshi, and go in, and make him arise up from among his brethren, and carry him to an inner chamber. Then take the box of oil, and pour it on his head, and say, Thus saith the Lord, I have anointed thee king over Israel. Then open the door, and flee, and tarry not. So the young man, even the young man the prophet, went to Ramoth Gilead. And when he came, behold, the captain of the host were sitting. And he said, I have an errand to thee, O captain. And Jehu said, Unto which of all of us? And Jehu said, Unto which of all us? And he said, To thee, O captain. And he arose, and went into the house, and poured the oil on his head, and said unto him, Thus saith the Lord God of Israel, I have anointed thee king over the people of the Lord, even over Israel. And thou shalt smite the house of Ahab thy master, that I may avenge the blood of my servants the prophets, and the blood of all the servants of the Lord, at the hand of Jezebel. For the whole house of Ahab shall perish. And they've pretty much infiltrated every facet of their society now. So, Jehu, I need you to clean up this mess, basically. And I will cut off from Ahab him that pisseth against the wall, and him that is shut up and left in Israel. And I will make the house of Ahab like the house of Jeroboam the son of Nebat, and like the house of Baasha the son of Ahijah. And the dogs shall eat Jezebel in the portion of Jezreel, and there shall be none to bury her. And he opened the door and fled. Jehu proclaimed king by the army of Israel. 11. Then Jehu came forth to the servants of his Lord, and one said unto him, Is all well? Wherefore came this mad fellow to thee? And he said unto them, Ye know the man and his communication. And they said, It is false. Tell us now. And he said, Thus and thus spake he to me, saying, Thus saith the Lord, I have anointed thee king over Israel. Then they hasted, and took every man his garment, and put it under him on the top of the stairs, and blew with trumpets, saying, Jehu is king. Jehu slays Jehoram. So Jehu, the son of Jehoshaphat, the son of Nimshi, conspired against Joram. Now Joram had kept Ramoth Gilead, he and all Israel, because of Hazael, king of Syria. But King Joram was returned to be healed in Jezreel of the wounds which the Syrians had given him, when he fought with Hazael, king of Syria. And Jehu said, If it be your minds, then let none go forth nor escape out of the city to go to tell it in Jezreel. So Jehu rode in a chariot, and went to Jezreel, for Joram lay there. And Ahaziah, king of Judah, was come down to see Joram. As they were saying earlier, they were setting this up. A lot of things happening at the same time. It becomes confusing. But the more you read it, the more you begin to make the connections between all the characters. And I know it can be a little hard to follow, but they already mentioned this a little bit ago, I think at the end of the last chapter. So they're just reminding us here. 17. And there stood a watchman on the tower in Jezreel, and he spied the company of Jehu as he came, and said, I see a company. And Joram said, Take an horseman, and send to meet them, and let him say, Is it peace? So there went one on horseback to meet him, and said, Thus saith the king, Is it peace? And Jehu said, What hast thou to do with peace? That's a good line. I like that. That's what I'd like to say to some people, And also, you could think of it from the Antichrist perspective, That's what he's going to say. He's going to say, peace, peace. And when he says peace, comes sudden destruction, And this guy just says it straight up. What hast thou to do with peace, you lowlife? What have you done to my country? How have you destroyed everything? Let's say that to the politicians today. What have you to do with peace? All you do is exploit the people and destroy this great nation, you know? What have you to do with peace? You don't even understand the concept. Turn thee behind me. And the watchman told, saying, The messenger came to them, but he cometh not again. So he suppressed the return message. He wouldn't allow the runner to return. Just shut up and watch what I'm about to do, basically. 19. Then he sent out a second on horseback, which came to them, and said, Thus saith the king, Is it peace? And Jehu answered, What hast thou to do with peace? Turn thee behind me. And the watchman told, saying, He came even unto them, and cometh not again. And the driving is like the driving of Jehu, the son of Nimshi, for he driveth furiously. And that's how it's getting in this country, you know. I've said that in my videos. You know, I've said that. I'm just ready to just say, fill your hands, you blank, 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 blank. And then just ride right into this madness, you know. Just about had enough. Just had enough of this BS in this country. Why aren't there any arrests being made? You see all these Jezebels in our country, and nothing's done about it, you know? We just sit here, hands tied, just go to bed, just go into quarantine, nothing to see here. There's nothing wrong with anything going on. Just go to bed. Had about enough. I'm right there with this guy. I have a temper, you know. You can see it in a lot of my videos. I do get pretty nasty, but I see it with this guy. Jehu, the son of Nimshi, for he driveth furiously. About had enough. And Jehu's had enough. He's had enough of this evil throughout his country. And he's ready to wipe it out, you know. 21. And Joram said, Make ready. And his chariot was made ready. And Joram, king of Israel, and Ahaziah, king of Judah, went out, each in his chariot. And they went out against Jehu, and met him in the portion of Naboth the Jezreelite. And it came to pass, see, that's why it says that there, because it's about to fulfill prophecy with them getting wiped out. 22. And it came to pass, when Joram saw Jehu, that he said, Is it peace, Jehu? Jehu, are you going to behave? I have a nice bribe for you, Jehu. Jehu, I have a bribe for you. It's not going to work. When somebody just blows a socket, or they're at the end of, you know, you can't, one guy can become very dangerous. Think of like Max Payne, somebody with nothing to lose. Just fed up, you know. No more bribes, no more corruption. You're dead. That's how this is going to play out. Is it peace, Jehu? I don't think so. And he answered, What peace, so long as the whoredoms of thy mother Jezebel and her witchcrafts are so many? Yeah, what peace? There's no peace. You're just a bunch of corrupt lowlifes. That's how it is right now. 23. And Joram turned his hands and fled, and said to Ahaziah, There is treachery, O Ahaziah. Ew! And Jehu drew a bow with his full strength, and smote Jehoram between his arms. And the arrow went out at his heart, and he sunk down in his chariot. Then said Jehu to Bidkar his captain, Take up and cast him in the portion of the field of Naboth the Jezreelite. For remember how that, when I and thou rode together after Ahab his father, the Lord laid this burden upon him. Surely I have seen yesterday the blood of Naboth and the blood of his sons, saith the Lord. And I will requite thee in this plat, saith the Lord. Now therefore take and cast him into the plat of ground, according to the word of the Lord. Ahaziah slain. 27. But when Ahaziah, the king of Judah, saw this, he fled by the way of the garden house, and Jehu followed after him and said, Smite him also in the chariot. And they did so at the going up to Gur, which is by Ibleam, and he fled to Megiddo and died there. And his servants carried him in a chariot to Jerusalem, and buried him in his sepulchre with his fathers in the city of David. And in the 11th year of Joram, the son of Ahab, began Ahaziah to reign over Judah. The slaying of Jezebel, 30. Now, all this is happening, okay? Let's say even in our country, something actually happens. Let's say they finally prosecute Hill Dog. You know, they get her on everything we already know about. You know. And she gets prosecuted. Let's say they have a public execution of her, you know, just to say a message about it. She's just the tip of the iceberg. Jezebel, same situation. Hill Dog is Jezebel, by the way. Or she's a representation of her. And Jezebel, pure evil. She's just the tip of the iceberg. Do you go past that? Do you look deeper? You know, he's cleaning up all this corruption right now here, right? But do you go further than that? Do you look deeper? Do you find those hidden places that they have everywhere, those groves, those altars? Do you break all that down? Do you go and witness to the people and illustrate to them exactly how bad the corruption is and how bad this has gotten? You cut off that piece, but what about the long-term effects of her reigning for this long, you know? How many years was she influencing the people? And now how many of the people worship Baal? And now how many people are going to revolt because the queen of Baal worship is dead, you know, or is about to die, rather. I haven't read it yet. I'm about to. But that's what I'm asking you. The long-term effects, the psychological damage to all the people that worship Obama and worship Hill Dog, you know, the Democrat Party. How many idiots continue to worship that? And then even in the Republican Party, how much corruption is all there, you know? And how has it decayed the mindset of the average person in this country, you know? You do all this, these are good things that Jehu is doing. He's cleaning it up. I hear a lot about 100,000 sealed indictments. They never come forth. Even if you do manage to do all that, does it even matter with how evil we're becoming? We're just as bad, if not worse, than what we see here. And when Jehu was come to Jezreel, Jezebel heard of it, and she painted her face and tired her head and looked out at a window. She's going to look good before she gets executed, I guess. Maybe she's planning to seduce Jehu. Jehu's not going to have anything. He's not. 31. And as Jehu entered in at the gate, she said, Had Zimri peace, who slew his master? And he lifted up his face to the window and said, Who is on my side? Who? And there looked out to him 2 or 3 eunuchs. And he said, Throw her down! So they threw her down, and some of her blood was sprinkled on the wall and on the horses, and he trode her under foot. And when he was come in, he did eat and drink, and said, Go see now this cursed woman, and bury her, for she is a king's daughter. And they went to bury her, but they found no more of her than the skull and the feet, and the palms of her hands. Wherefore they came again and told him, and he said, This is the word of the Lord, which he spake by his servant Elijah the Tishbite, saying, In the portion of Jezreel shall dogs eat the flesh of Jezebel. And the carcass of Jezebel shall be as dung upon the face of the field in the portion of Jezreel, so that they shall not say, This is Jezebel. So that prophecy came to pass right there. All right. Jehu's not done, as we'll see in the next chapter. But all this effort, I think even Jehu is seduced by the corruption, I think Jehu ends up going bad at the end of his reign. But these are good efforts, We could just let the corruption continue to rot like we're doing right now. We're rotting. We're decaying in this country. Just let this evil perpetuate. And as it's in power, what else are they doing? How are they destroying this nation from the inside out? Same thing here. How long was this evil monster allowed to interact with the people? What has she done? Scary stuff. Same things are happening. All right, we'll continue Jehu's rampage next time in chapter 10. Thank you for listening. Have a blessed day.